Welcome back, you guys. Kick back and relax as we dive into another episode of Skip to Saturday. Hey, you guys, if you listen to the intro episode, then you know at some point my sister and I had our own clothing line. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but the sole purpose of this episode is to share the lessons I learned through the experience of having our own business. So after I graduated college, me and my sister started our online clothing store called ACLASS. We were both the co-founders, and my dad was our silent partner. It was strictly, like I said, online. We didn't have a storefront. And the clothes that we designed were a blend of classy and edgy. It's something that we were into at the time. Our vision for ACLASS was to create affordable clothing using high quality materials and at the same time also give back to the world. That was really important to us. We wanted to make a difference with what we were doing. So a portion of our profits were going to charitable organizations, and one of those was Charity Water, founded by Scott Harrison. We did everything from the ground up. So that was like creating our company, which is an LLC, to creating our designs, finding the vendors, going through hundreds of fabric swatches, buttons, to creating samples of our designs, and then fine tuning them until we were satisfied. But we did outsource making the clothes because we did not know how to stitch. So that was outsourced. And then all legal matters, marketing and photography were outsourced as well. But at one point we did do some marketing ourselves. We went to this like really rich neighborhood and we drove up and down the streets and put flyers, oh my God, flyers in their mailboxes just to get the word out. I created our website as well. We did that, and then we handled our own accounting and anything like that was like really tiny, minor in between. We did that ourselves. And what I learned early on was that running your own company is not easy. It's not easy because like you'll see it on social media, like people start with like $100 in their bank account, or they started a business with $1,000, whatever it is, right? And they've brought it up to like 100 million. Like that's how much their business is worth. But no one talks about how hard it is to get there because it does not happen overnight. It takes years and years of hard work to get there. So that was like an eye opener. Like, you have to put in all the work. There's going to be so many sleepless nights. I remember there was so much anxiety and there was so much stress, and I had so many tears going down my face because I needed to get everything done on time, and we had to get our company off the ground because at the end of the day, we wanted it to succeed and we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything that we could to make that happen. And so like when you're doing everything on your own and you don't have much guidance, there's that fear like, am I doing everything? Am I doing it right? Am I doing enough? And then when we got the final products in our hands, that's when all those long days, the stress, the anxiety and tears really, really paid off. It was such a surreal feeling when they all came in. I just remember thinking, we are going to be so freaking successful. We're going to have storefronts in major cities like New York and LA. ACLASS was going to be known worldwide. It was going to be an amazing time for the both of us. And honestly, this is how anyone thinks when they're starting something new. They're dreaming big and no one's thinking small, but sometimes life has other plans for you. So having a strictly online business is tricky for so many different reasons. And one of the main reasons for us was that there's a lot of competition online and the reach, getting the word out there. And then the funding that we had, there was not a lot for the marketing side of things. And that was a lesson on our part. Like we should have allocated more funding for the marketing part because we could have started off with We had like, I think it was 12 products, and we could have cut it down to 6. And the money that we had spent on the other 6, that could have gone into marketing, but we didn't do that. So that was like a big lesson for us there. And then 4 years later, we had to make the difficult decision to shut down our company. And the reason why we shut it down was because we weren't doing well. Financially, our company wasn't where it needed to be. And the first few years for any new business, it's crucial. Those first few years are really crucial. And I feel like this would have been a totally different story if we had a storefront. There's more foot traffic that way. The harsh reality is that 98% of clothing startup brands fail within their first few years. And we just happened to be one of those 98% brands. It was so heartbreaking because, like I said, we poured so much of our love, time, effort, and energy into our company just for it to not work out. And that was disappointing. That's just how I saw it at the time. But that's the reality, right? Sometimes things don't work out the way we hoped or imagined them to. And the crazy thing is, the year before we shut down ACLASS, I knew in my gut that it was time to close down our company. But I just did not want to. I don't even know if I ever told my sister this, but I knew in my gut it's time to, shut it down. But I just did not want to be a disappointment. And I also did not want the people that were waiting for us to fail to feel satisfied of hearing that. And then there's also a part of me that felt like, okay, we need to keep trying. Maybe we haven't tried everything yet. I remember feeling like a huge disappointment after everything was said and done. When we were filing the articles of dissolution and we started to cancel our permits and licenses, I felt so broken. There was so much shame that we didn't succeed. I felt really embarrassed, and I felt like I let my sister down along with my parents and anyone who supported us from day one. We didn't even announce it on social media because it was something that we weren't proud of, obviously, right? I just did not want to answer anyone's questions about why we shut down our company. And I was afraid that people were going to get joy out of hearing that ACLASS didn't do well. So we just didn't say anything unless people asked. And people did ask over time because, we stopped posting about it. So I think naturally when you as a consumer, if you're following someone and they're constantly posting about something in their life and then it goes dark, something's up. So I feel like people caught on, and when they would ask us, we would be honest about it. But at the same time, there was so much shame and embarrassment when the words would come out of my mouth. But now I have a whole different outlook on this part of my life, and I wish I had this type of mindset back then. But then I guess I wouldn't have learned so many lessons if I did. Building a company with my sister is something that I don't regret at all. It was one of the best experiences of my life. I learned how to start a clothing brand from scratch, which is pretty cool. I learned from our mistakes. And if I ever wanted to start a clothing line again, I know all the things that I'd do differently. We gained extensive knowledge about the industry, which helped shape our work ethic and provided us with valuable experience. We were forced to wear multiple hats because it was just the two of us. So we had no other choice. And then when you have your own business, you have to be consistent and disciplined. You have to put in the work. You can't just show up when you feel like it. And you have to really push through it. So like if you're sick, you're tired, you had a long day before, you got to do it because no one's going to do it for you, right? So you just cannot show up whenever you feel like it. And that's probably one of the things that was a little hard to kind of adjust to. And you guys are probably wondering, like, why in the hell did I hold on to ACLASS when I knew that it wasn't going to work out for us? There was just like a lot that was going through my mind at the time. One, I was hoping that things would turn around when the reality was that they weren't gonna anytime soon. I think we all hold on to hope in whatever situation we're in. We hope that it will turn around or things will get better, but sometimes that's just not the case. I knew in my heart and in my gut that our company wasn't going to be successful, but I just did not want to accept it. In my mind, I just kept thinking of how much time, effort, and money we put into this company. And I was not ready to accept that all of it was for nothing. It's really hard to walk away from anything that means something. But at the same time, if you've poured your heart and soul into something you really believed in and it doesn't work out, trust me, like you won't regret it. You won't regret walking away. It's hard to walk away from anything that means something, but at the same time, if you poured your heart and soul into something you really believed in and it doesn't work out, trust me, you won't regret walking away. It'll hurt, but you won't regret it. And I don't see this as giving up. Some people probably will consider this as like consider walking away as a sign of giving up, but to me, it's actually being wise. And I think maybe on some level, this also played a part in wanting to hold on to our company because shutting it down felt like we were giving up at the time. But we also did everything we could before we came to that decision. When I look back at all of this, holding on was just prolonging the inevitable. And the thing that I wish I had known back then was to embrace failures because no one embraces failure. We're not taught to. When we're kids, we're only awarded if we win or succeed. So as we get older, we hold on to this mindset that failure is bad. So when we started ACLASS, I wasn't even thinking about failure. I had this mindset that this is going to work out and I'm going to make it work. No matter what, it's going to happen. In Asian households, you don't even have the room to fail, if I'm being honest. It's not encouraged. It's really frowned upon. As I've gotten older, I've learned that you don't learn by succeeding. You actually learn by failing. It's something that everyone should acknowledge in early stages of their life because I think life will feel a little easier if we do that. Looking back, I really wish that I had trusted my gut instinct. I really do, because it would have saved us a lot of time, money, and effort in keeping ACLASS up and running. And then the other thing that I learned is that if you want to be successful in life, you have to know when to walk away. You have to know when to bow out because the longer you stay and hold on to something, and it's clear that it's not working, you're probably going to be wasting your time, money, energy, and effort when all of that could go into something else. I've seen people lose almost everything when they've had their own business, but they just couldn't let go, or the industry was changing and they weren't adapting to it. And I believe on some level, we all know when it's time to move on. This applies to everything in life, whether it's a business venture, a relationship, or friendship. Not closing the chapter when you know it's over only prolongs the pain. And honestly, recognizing when it's over is such a blessing, even if it doesn't feel that way initially. But I believe that trying should be something to be proud of. I'm really proud that we tried to make ACLASS work. I'm really proud that we even, started a company from the ground up. We had that ambition to do something like that because not a lot of people can say that for themselves. Me and my sister put our whole heart and soul into the business, and I'm proud of that. And if you do that and it doesn't work, then you can confidently walk away knowing that you gave it your all. And, it's like some people, when they don't try, they do live with regret. Sometimes they're paralyzed by fear about what's going to happen if it doesn't work out, or they're afraid of looking like a failure. But I feel like if failing was encouraged, then just maybe people would try more to do things that they wanted to do, and they wouldn't be so stuck in their comfort zones. At the end of the day, life is about learning and growing. So do the things that you want to do and see where that takes you. If you succeed, then great. Congratulations. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. It's a lesson that you can learn from and then apply it in the future. Ultimately, this is how you get better. Now, I've learned to embrace the failures, and I hope that everyone can get to a point in their life where they can embrace their failures too. I would rather have 10 failures under my belt than looking back at my life and wishing I had done X, Y, and Z. Some of you are probably wondering, how do you know it's time to move on? Back then, I wouldn't know how to answer that question because I didn't know myself, but now I've got a pretty good idea. The first thing you have to do is detach yourself from your emotions so you're able to see things for what they are. I know this is so freaking hard to do. I would suggest to step away for a couple of days to clear your mind and look at everything that's happening. My therapist once told me that 99% of the time we have all the answers we need, and usually they always come up to the surface when we start to open up and talk about what's going on in our minds. So talking to someone that you trust can be really, really helpful. The second indication of when it's time to move on is that when you think about it, that option of like moving on feels really calm to you. You're not riddled with anxiety about it. You may have anxiety taking the next step because You don't know what emotions you're going to be dealing with and what's going to happen next. But entertaining the idea of moving on does not bring you anxiety. It probably will even feel like a relief. And I feel like you will also know it in your spirit that it's time to move on. For me, this is like the best way that I know it's time to move on. This is like the best way for me to describe that this is like, okay, you got to bow out and walk away from whatever it is that is no longer serving you, or it's not, it's not fulfilling its purpose. Before I wrap this up, I'm going to share some funny breakup stories with you guys, because having to let go of ACLASS felt like a huge heartbreak, much like the end of a relationship. So I've got a few stories here and I hope they make you laugh. The first one is, my sister broke up with her boyfriend in the school parking lot as we waited for our mom to pick us up. Well, he didn't take it well, and when my mom arrived, we got in the car and he literally jumped on her hood and crawled along the car to the passenger side window, begging her to reconsider. The school resource officer had to drag him away crying and screaming Weezer lyrics at my sister. God, poor kid. I broke up with my boyfriend in a park and he literally climbed up a tree to cry up there. I didn't really know what to do, so I just waited around for him to come back down. Oh my God, that sounds mortifying. And the last one, my first boyfriend set a small fire in the field behind my house to get me to dump him. When I told him he was an idiot, but didn't end it, he told me it was over because he couldn't be with someone who didn't take fire safety seriously. Good God. Okay, that's it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you all have an amazing day ahead of you, and I'll catch you in the next episode.